Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Kai Hahn. I'm the VP Head of Digital Content here at the Intelligent Enterprise Leaders Alliance. And I am thrilled to welcome Megan Lessard, VP of People Acquisition and Inclusion at Sunrun, to Intelligent Enterprise Storytellers. Welcome to our program, Megan.
Hi, Kai. Thank you so much. It's great to be here with you today.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. And I should also mention, Megan is also one of our featured speakers at the upcoming People Analytics Exchange, December 3rd through the 4th in San Jose. And I will see many of you in person there. If you have any questions for us throughout our great conversation, please put them in the comment box and we will try our very best to get to all of them at the end. Today's topic is leveraging advanced technologies to create a skilled, inclusive workforce for tomorrow. And Megan, you're very passionate about career development and continuing education, which will be a big focus of today's conversation. But before we dive into that topic, tell us just a little bit about Sunrun, your own career path, and the inclusion and employee career progression programs you have in place.
Thank you so much, Kai. So I work at Sunrun. Sunrun is our nation's leading provider of clean energy as a subscription service. And so we offer residential solar and storage with no upfront costs. We have products and solutions that are really aimed at connecting homes to the cleanest energy on earth and really aimed at providing energy security, predictability, and peace of mind. We have just under 12,000 employees today, 83% of whom we consider to be frontline. And when I say frontline, I really mean engaging with our customers every day. And of the 83% of the 12,000, the primary areas are either engaging with our customers and helping potential customers to acquire a system and to go solar and to consider battery backup. And then we also have a large workforce of employees who are getting those systems installed and activated in employees' homes, so engaging with our customers in their homes and at their homes. And then we have a workforce of our customer experience teams who are engaging with our customers and meeting their needs every day. So that majority of our workforce are engaging with customers in one of those three ways every day. And then about me, I live in Denver and I've been with Sunrun for just over 8 years. And prior to Sunrun, I was primarily in the technology sector. I worked at Microsoft for a number of years and then in software startups in Seattle before that. Most of my career, I've been in the HR business partner space, which I love. And up until a few years ago, that's where I thought I would likely spend, most of my career. That led me, to Sunrun and having an HR business career here at Sunrun. But Sunrun has a really positive culture of leadership mobility. And I was convinced to move over to lead our recruiting function in 2021. That's not something I'd ever done before. And I took over the recruiting function in 2021, and then I added on inclusion and employee progression over the past year and a half. So I've had a little bit of a mobility story of my own, and I'm really grateful to Sunrun's leadership for that promotion of that mobility. And speaking of that, there's a lot of other executives and leadership team members who have moved around and up, which is really just great example and motivation for our employees to see people who are in sometimes unlikely ways moving around. So for instance, our chief field operations officer, he led sales teams for most of his career before he stepped into operations leadership, and our executive team really saw some of his really critical skills that would really benefit our operations teams and their leadership. My own leadership, Jenna Steele, she is an attorney by trade. She was our general counsel for years, and a couple of years ago stepped into the chief legal and people HR officer. This is her first foray into HR, and her leadership and her style and her background really challenges us as HR practitioners to think differently, and I really love that. So that mobility at the leadership level is a good segue for me to share a little bit more about the employee progression program that I lead and that I'm really excited and passionate about. So we started with this good culture and interest that we've always had around mobility and internal career progression. And we've been interested in that since the beginning. Since I joined in 2016, we already had small tuition reimbursement programs. We also had a bunch of informal programs. Like I helped to organize, I remember, like shadow days, moving people around our customer roles and giving them a glimpse of other roles, and really doing that kind of in informal ways. So there's always been this interest and passion and culture around it. But a colleague of mine, just a couple of days ago, I was talking to him about some of these programs, and he shared what I think is a great way of thinking about this and framework even for just our talk today. And that's that, successful programs are really making progress in an area. It takes a triad. So that would be, hearts and minds, tools and processes, and capability, or the ability to get these things done. And as it related to employee progression and career development in this whole area, we definitely had hearts and minds, especially at the leadership level, and great capability and passion within our HR team. We have a really talented HR business partner team who works every day with managers and leaders to drive career progression. We have a fantastic compensation and benefits team who makes sure that employees have what they need to, stay, thrive, and grow at our company. So, really great, in terms of hearts and minds. But what we were really lacking was that tools and processes. And we kind of tried to build little things, homegrown efforts at a mobility program, but it was really hard to get things to stick. And that's really where we were able to, to come into contact with this idea that we really needed a career progression platform. And so we were able to demonstrate with clear data, ROI, and a very clear business case around building a career development platform. Along with that platform, we also spent time building a strategy for how we can help our employees and really, hone that around, I mentioned it just a second ago, but around stay, thrive, and grow. And this strategy, really, a core component of it was getting a career development platform. But we chose Fuel 50 for ours for that. And then our existing, we already had a robust and really well-received educational platform. So our educational benefit, our Power U program, which is our tuition program, if you will, is powered by Guild. And then we also utilize LinkedIn Learning. Thanks, LinkedIn. And additionally, we built, or in this strategy, we are working to build kind of a wraparound program to both the career development platform and the education benefits. So the wraparound is a good communications platform. So really building out our intranet presence, and then workshops and tools and sort of practical things for our employees to be able to then engage with the platform, with the education benefit, and sort of okay, what do I do with these things that we're continuing to build out? And then I know this is long-winded, but the last aspect of this is that we then we built out a tiny team to support this. So we have an amazing team. It is tiny. It's just a couple of amazing women. Taylor on my team, who is a post HR rotation program. So we ran an HR rotation program here at Sunrun for a couple of years for post MBA graduates. She graduated from a rotation program and took on this career development platform as her primary role and employee progression. And so really having someone that is just 100% dedicated to the tool and also the wraparound program has been key to building out this program. She sits alongside and within our inclusion umbrella, which is an interesting place to put it, but we just see so many great synergies between this group of people and the work they do and the impact that has for Sunrun. So alongside her is Jackie, who manages our inclusion programs, which includes our 9 Sunrun communities. That's what we call our ERGs. And then we also have a community engagement specialist. Her name is Jordy. And Jordy's work that she does is a little bit unique, I think, to Sunrun and our industry, but it's all about building out, close connections and partnerships for the work that we do in our communities. So an example of that is we have an active engagement with the veterans community, especially in the solar space. So working with veterans and programs. There's one called Airstream, one called Home Builder, and they help veterans to move into companies, post retirement and post service, and we work with them to help talk about the solar industry, talk about our jobs, and hopefully to place them. And we also work with a lot of other. We work with local community colleges, and we also work with other local organizations really aimed at connecting the solar industry with potential employees in our local communities. And we're really proud of the work that we do there, on behalf of Sunrun and also on behalf of the solar industry. So this team is also like a really core important part of how we make this employee progression move forward. They sit alongside our recruiting function, and they collaborate together, in this, you can think of it as a tract on the recruiting side, and then this stay, thrive, and grow within this team. And then in partnership with our leaders. And there's just so much connectivity that we've seen between inclusion, employee progression, and community engagement. And we're really proud of the progress that we're making there at Sunrun and within the solar industry.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing this. This was a very great, comprehensive overview. I also really love how, your own career path and your own passions are informing these larger initiatives, and also how throughout Sunrun's management and leadership, there are quite a few people with diverse backgrounds and skills that you have, that you bring to the job, that are making these initiatives so amazing. And so, given everything you laid out and all these really fantastic initiatives, programs that you have, what are maybe some of the lessons learned from really making employees feel included and empowered?
Absolutely. So we have, as I mentioned, we've always invested in education and skills building. And I definitely think that those are things that signal to employees that, we want them to feel empowered to grow their career. On the inclusion side, I mentioned our Sunrun communities, which is our ERG community. It comprises about 1,600 employees. And we're really proud of, providing that space for people to engage, but also and have a greater sense of belonging. It's also a place for people to gain some leadership experience outside of their day-to-day operations to lead in some of those communities. So Nicole Doyle on my team, who manages the team I described to you before, Taylor, Jackie, and Jordy, I think also demonstrating to Sunrun how we care about our inclusion and making employees feel empowered and to have a sense of belonging is really having this team who is, providing these programs and places for engagement, and also to feel empowered from an employee growth perspective. The other thing I wanted to say about, another lesson related to empowerment that I love about Sunrun is that we also have a good culture around embracing people who have great ideas, who want to move quickly, and who want to kind of innovate even across organizational lines, who are unafraid to say, this needs to get solved. And I want to just look around and see who I can solve it with and make quick and smart progress. And if we look around at Sunrun, I have seen it, others have commented on it, that those are really the people at Sunrun who progress and move forward, regardless of degree, pedigree, regardless of, how many, industry experiences they've had, but that those skills are really valued so much. And I think that that's really empowering for everyone to see and to think about their own career possibilities and really connecting it to, making the biggest impact for Sunrun, regardless of, your background and experiences.
Yeah, amazing. You're really fostering innovation with that, and getting people to think about what could be done better, differently, right? And tapping into all the great new things that are out there. How can education benefits help to build a more inclusive workforce? I was very intrigued what you said about the veterans earlier. I know that you have a great team of women that are underneath you, responsible for HR. Like, how has education helped to really build that inclusive workforce?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, frankly, the good news is that the data speaks for itself to some degree. So when we think about, the power of educational benefits and how that can really drive a more inclusive or more diverse workforce, the good news is that the data speaks for itself, especially in our case. And so, a couple of examples. One is that, we are approximately 50-50 related to our ethnicity and our BIPOC population. And for our learners in our education program, we call it Power U. It's powered by Guild, but our Power U program, as kind of a nod to clean energy, is 55% BIPOC. So just a touch higher than our overall population. We're really proud of it. So we're seeing as much engagement and a little bit higher within our education platform for our BIPOC employees. And then I think the real intriguing and a motivating story is that for women in particular, we see a good percentage higher engagement and graduation rates than our overall population. So at Sunrun, we have 27% women. You got to keep in mind that this is a large installation and sales-based company, so it's not entirely shocking that that our numbers are not 50-50 for the type of company that we are. But for our education benefit, women account for 46% of our graduates, which is just amazing. And then additionally, we haven't talked about it very much in this call yet, but we are very focused on growing our own electrical talent, if you will. There's an electrician shortage in America, and we need a lot of electricians for this clean energy transformation. And so we are doing a lot around growing our electricians internally and building those careers within our current employee base. And then coming back to women for a moment, today there are 54 women in our electrician program, and this is an industry that historically has 2% U.S. electrician women. So I'm really excited about the progress that we're making in those areas. And then there's a couple more ways, even past the data, that we've built the program. The way that we've built the program supports our inclusion work. And so we've had an education benefit for several years now. But last year in 2020, late 2023, we realized that we needed to shift the way that we were spending our education benefit dollars and really kind of realign our strategy. And the reason for that was because we had such high interest in our program. And so just huge interest in the program, and we would sort of run out of money quickly in the first couple of years, within the first few months of those years. And so we were having to sort of turn off the spigot, if you will, for our programming because so many people had engaged at the beginning of the year. And so we were faced with, how do we make the money last, and how do we make it most impactful for our employees? And so we really realized that as a company, we wanted to, focus our kind of initial dollars on our frontline employees. And our frontline employees are primarily those who have had historic barriers to education. And so we really wanted to focus our money there, and also help our employees build skills that will help Sunrun for the long run. So again, more electricians, more with like your baseline project management skills, and really giving employees, those associate's degree, bachelor's degree, education levels. And so in changing the way that we allowed enrollments, we really shifted the strategy towards our frontline workers and those who might have more barriers to education. And today, our top 5 programs, really show that. So it's Spanish language learning, basics like Microsoft Excel, and then our electrician career diploma, a bachelor's of business, and BS in project management. So those are our most popular programs. Those are the ones that people are signing up for and graduating from. The last thing I want to talk about relative to inclusion and educational benefits is another thing that we credit to digging into the data, and it was around lack of barriers to enrollment. So I mentioned that we had record-breaking engagement with our education program that we were spending quite a lot of money on. So it was exciting to see all the interest, but we were challenged to meet everyone's needs. So naturally, when you need to turn off that spigot, you start thinking around what controls can we put in place? And so, some of the ideas that come out are, okay, well, maybe we need to have manager approval in order to have someone participate in a program. Maybe you need to limit it to the top performers in the organization, and just putting kind of tighter controls around that. And Guild, our partner for our platform, was really great about helping us to think about things in different ways. And really, we had some thoughtful discussions around, potential bias that can creep in from manager performance ratings, from manager recommendations. And though those are not intentional 99% of the time, but there is bias potentially in that. So that was, they were saying, maybe think of something else. And then at the same time, when we dug into the data, we realized that that naturally our enrollees were our highest performers. So there was a really tight correlation to people who were enrolling in the program already, who were high performers or, good performers. And so putting those controls in place wouldn't actually slow down the usage of the program because those people didn't fall into it, but it might just turn people away and say, oh, there's too many hoops to jump through. I don't know if I want the email to go to my manager. And so we tried to think about doing things in a bit different way to control our costs, still be able to spend the money that we wanted to spend, but without, unintentionally creating additional barriers for enrollment. And that was really due to finding that in the data and saying, oh, that actually doesn't do much. So that was really interesting.
That's very inspiring. I mean, kudos to you for having seen these results, for really navigating bias. You have a super unique ecosystem in place, combining those education benefits with career pathing and then growth and development workshops. How do you leverage advanced technologies such as AI and analytics to build that inclusive and skilled workforce of tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm so excited. I've mentioned it already about this platform that we have built by Fuel 50, and it is entirely powered by AI. And the goal is that it's going to help us hone and discover what skills our employees have, what gaps they might have for our future needs, and what skills they're interested in developing. And some of the early insights that we're getting from that have been really eye-opening, and we're excited to be sharing those with our leaders. Fuel 50 has done a ton of work to build their platform and to help mitigate bias. And then additionally, Sunrun has an AI team. It's led by a person named Ratchet, and he reviewed our engagement with Fuel 50 to make sure that it was in line with our goals for Sunrun around AI. But we're really excited about what that platform will do for us. And as you can imagine, the more employees that get in there and evaluate their skills, share what skills they're interested in developing, and look at various career options based on the commonality of those skills, we're going to learn more. So our primary goal is to get as many of our employees as we can into our career platform. and engaging with the platform so that we can, and really start to benefit and create, a better, more expert view for our employees, and also more insights for our leaders. From an analytics perspective, analytics have played a really big role as we think about our education benefit. I just shared, when we were looking at some of those barriers, and really helped us to drive the ROI and business case for investing in a career pathing tool, and continuing, every year we make the business case based on our data to demonstrate the value add for our education benefit and our career platform. We're able to demonstrate pretty easily the value add of career pathing, looking at replacement costs hiring versus the cost of the program and my team. And even with just putting modest goals in place around retention in our first year to 2 years, it made the business case very straightforward.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So you mentioned that you are really trying to drive more of your employees onto that platform. What has been the response on the employee side?
Yeah. So for our Power You program, I mentioned like record-breaking engagement, right? So we continue to see really solid engagement with our education benefits. And then for the other, aspects of our employee progression, so the tool and our wraparound for the tool, we've saw, sort of really big engagement right at the beginning. So you can think about all those early adopters were right in, and we very quickly got to 16-17% in, I think it was 30-45 days. And we've plateaued a little bit there, if I'm being honest. And so we have more work to do to get more of our employees engaged. That brings me back to the triad piece. So now we've got this tool and process in place, and we've got great ability to deliver. We just talked this week about hearts and minds for our employees and for their direct managers. So we've got some more work to do there to really help employees and managers, because the perspective of the manager is so important for what the employee is actually going to engage in, and whether they're going to engage in career progression and thinking about their career in a more expanded way. And so we need to do more work relative to employee stories and telling managers the WIFM, what's in it for them, because there is real benefit for them. But if you think about a mobility platform and the thought of their best employees moving quickly out, right, there's a little bit of fear there. And so we need to work through that. So we're putting a plan in place right now around winning the hearts and minds of our managers and also our employees. And we're going to do it in an audience-based way. So we're going to, frankly, target, one of our sales channels that has higher attrition than other of our sales channels, and really start to win them over, both employees and those frontline managers. So that's really what's next for us. But we get a lot of really great anecdotal feedback related to our MAP tool. That's the mobility and progression. That's what we call the career development tool. And then also the wraparound, the growth and development workshops. We had over 700 people attend my team's workshops. They ran a bunch in the first month and a half following the launch in early September. So really great response to that, and people so excited about having this tool. We just need to keep that momentum going beyond our early adopters.
Oh, fantastic. You mentioned anecdotal feedback, but what about measurement on larger scale? What level of success would you say have you been able to measure from these initiatives?
So, some hardline, measurement related to, I'll probably stick to our education program, since that's the tried and true, and we have more work to do in launching this career progression. But, we've had over 500, I think it's like 530 promotions out of our Power You graduates. And so a lot of promotions with that continued learning. And then really great success related to reduction of turnover for those engaged populations. So for people that are in a program, for our hourly learners, we see a 70% reduction rate in their turnover. Yeah. So, you can imagine someone's in a program and they want to get through it. They're sticking around at a much higher rate than their colleagues. And we also see it's like a 2.5 times job change rate in our hourly workers for those who are in a program or not in a program. And so, we definitely see that success happening. Our goal is to to continue in that and really target, again, with the hearts and minds, some of our populations that have higher turnover rates, and to really paint that clear picture between the education benefit, the career platform, and their mobility and progression in partnership with their managers here at Sunrun.
Yeah. I really love how you empower people to take their career to the next level. I love how it ties back to your own career again, and your leadership. So, there's a lot of talk about the future being skills-based. And obviously, you're really developing skills for Sunrun, but also for the future. Do you think that the future of work is skills-based? And what skills do organizations and individuals need to develop to prepare for that, in your opinion?
This really is the hot topic right now. I mean, I think I was at another conference, and it's the topic everywhere. So, it makes sense that we're talking about it today. And, we built a platform to help people identify, skills, and all about, skills assessment and building. And so I don't know that I would say that I think like all of the future is all skills based. I think that there's a healthy balance to be had. I think there's a ton of, really positive aspects of skills based organizations as you think about them. And really helps to break down barriers. If you think about, thinking about jobs in terms of skills versus degrees or requirements, and what that can do from an inclusive workforce perspective, I think that is really powerful, and an ability to upskill and reskill and shift, in a changing world relative to AI. I definitely think that we're going to see, more and more of that in organizations. I heard, I guess another thing I would say is, I think it's important to think about skills, both, your hard, your technical skills, but also all of those really core and critical soft skills. And, the goal, I think, is that we're equally, thinking about those. And especially as we see, greater AI adoption, we hear so much that the soft skills are going to be equally important or more important in the future. I think it was Mark Cuban recently said that the 3 skills he thinks are needed are, the ability to be agile, be curious, and be able to adapt. And, I definitely think, we see that at Sunrun. We see the people that are successful, have those soft skills, are, actively developing those soft skills. But as a balance to a skills-based organization, I also think, I'd be remiss if I didn't, say we also need to be thinking about, accreditation and certification inside of doing things the right way for our customers, keeping our employees safe. And so, I see a huge benefit to organizations who are doing the work, because it takes work. I will tell you that building out our career platform and writing out the skills, taxonomy, and all the skills that we think are there, and then, all of that, building on that based on what employees input, it takes a ton of work. But I do think that that putting in that work is going to, be a huge benefit for our companies, especially then being able to assess where are we missing, where do we need to develop, and helping employees upskill, reskill, whatever the term is right now, to help their employees stay, thrive, and grow. I heard someone say that it costs 6 times more to hire someone than it does to upskill or reskill someone internally. And that really, resonates with me. That makes a ton of sense to me. And it's energizing to think about, providing that for our employees as work continues to shift and change.
Yeah, and that's the business case, right? That most people are looking for in order to drive these initiatives within their organizations. I do want to remind the audience to please put comments or questions for Megan into the comment box We might still have time for one. I also want to remind everyone that you can get 0.5 SHRM credits for attending today's session. So do stick around until the very end. We will display the code at the end. And let's see if we have a question coming in. If not, I'm just going to jump in selfishly and ask you one last question myself. I mean, it's really impressive what you've been able to achieve within Sunrun, even with regards to numbers, with regards to outcomes, and how you aligned really the business's goals with your education programs, with your inclusion programs. Is there anything where you feel like there is a lesson learned you wish you would have known earlier, where someone who is driving these initiatives in their own company might be struggling, especially with company buy-in, with executive buy-in, where you could give them maybe 1 or 2 tips of just your vast experience and your great treasure trove of knowledge?
Oh, thank you, Kai. I think I would probably just repeat a couple of things and maybe just put them in bold. So I really love, my colleague reminding me of this, kind of triad around hearts and minds, tools and processes, and capability. I think it's really helpful and creates a ton of clarity for me if we think about, the topic of employee progression. And it's been clarifying for me. For a moment, I thought, oh, we'll just get this platform, everybody will rush to it and, check. But, there is, adoption to be had. There is, winning over and getting managers to really understand the WIFM and, helping drive their employees to explore career development and not being fearful of that. So, that triad for sure. And then I think the other thing is, that demonstrated mobility at the top leadership levels is really inspiring and exciting to me. And I would say, if you can help to instill a culture of that within your own company, I think that's, such a powerful example. And it's really fun to hear people's stories of, doing all sorts of different things and the successes they've had there. So those would be my 2 nuggets of wisdom. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Great closing remarks. Thank you on behalf of the Intelligent Enterprise Leaders Alliance and our audience for sharing all of these great insights. Megan, it was amazing to have you here with us today. And we're all looking forward. Yes, in December, we're all looking forward to hear you speak at our People Analytics Exchange in San Jose, December 3rd through the 4th. I also would like to remind our audience and those who are watching and haven't already to please be sure to follow us on the Intelligent Enterprise Leaders Alliance LinkedIn page. And if you have a topic wish for future IE storytellers, be sure to just let us know. You can either ping me directly or you can also comment below. And I also want to let you know that our next market study will focus on Megan's sweet spot, talent acquisition and recruitment. So if you're interested to contribute on that hot topic, then please shoot me a message. And with that, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you again, Megan. We're excited to see you all in December.
Thank you.